8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Danushka Madhawala and read by Indrani Senanayake. The headlines. Sri Lanka records a high COVID-19 recovery rate compared to other countries. Around 20,000 army personnel in the country have been vaccinated so far. The government expects to make Sri Lanka a naval hub by the year 2035. Sri Lanka to have first biogas power plant in October. A significant development has been recorded in the information and telecommunications sectors in the country. The Education Ministry is working on the possibilities of reducing the cut-off marks of the Grade 5 scholarship examination. Aviation clubs will be set up in every school in the country. In foreign news, UN chief strongly condemns detention of political leaders, transfer of powers to military in Myanmar. The Government Medical Officers Association says that the COVID-19 recovery rate in the country is in a good position at present. Secretary to the GMOA, Haritha Alutge, says that the recovery rate in the country exceeds 89%. He added that the death rate ratio is also very low in Sri Lanka compared to other countries of the world. Sri Lanka reported 348 new infections of the novel coronavirus today. Army Commander General Shavendra Silva confirmed. Accordingly, the total count of COVID-19 cases reported in the country reached 64,505. According to the ministry's data, 58,075 of the confirmed patients have made complete recoveries from the virus. However, 6,144 active cases are still under medical care at selected hospitals and treatment centres located across the island. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka has witnessed 316 deaths from the virus so far. Minister Rohitha Abhigunawardena says that the aim of the government is to make Sri Lanka a naval hub by the year 2035. The harbour will be developed under a national development plan. The minister added that plans have already been made in this regard. The Ministry of Power says the country's first biogas power plant will be added to the national grid in October this year. Speaking to the media in Matara today, Minister of Power Dallas Alhaperuma said, through the project, waste collected in Colombo and the surrounding areas will be utilised at a national level. The minister noted 400 kilowatts of power can be generated using 40 tons of garbage, adding that 40 tons of garbage is collected daily in the Matara town alone. He noted engineers of the Ceylon Electricity Board and members of the Central Environmental Authority have reached a decision to complete the biogas project by the 1st of October. Minister Alhaperuma said the proceeds adds value to waste instead of making it an issue. The minister noted construction of the power plant will commence on the 17th of February. The Ministry of Education says that the government is working on the practical possibility of reducing the district cut-off marks of the Grade 5 scholarship examination. The ministry paid its attention after requests made by parents in this regard. The district cut-off marks of the Grade 5 scholarship examination was released on the 15th of last month. Parents have complained to the President that the cut-off marks are very high and should be reduced to give relief to the children at a time like this. But the Ministry of Education says that it is not practical to reduce the cut-off marks with the existing infrastructure facilities available in the classrooms. The Finance Ministry says that a significant development can be seen at the information and telecommunication sectors in the country. The overall services sector in the country have developed from 2.1% at the third quarter of last year compared to the second quarter, with the development of 16.5% increase in the information and telecommunication sectors. The total revenue of the sector in the third quarter of last year was 48 billion rupees. One of the main reasons for this increase is work from home and distance learning methods used by school children. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. We continue with local news. Aviation clubs will be set up in every school in the country. The aim of the project is to popularize aeronautics for school children. The project will be jointly implemented by the Ministry of Education and the Civil Aviation Authority. Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said that this will be added to the school curricula in future. Aeronautics is a very popular subject in the world. There is less intention in the country in this regard. The minister has instructed the Director General of the Civil Aviation Authority to set up a new program to popularize aeronautics among school children. The Secretary to the Ministry of Water Management, Anura Disanaika, says that the Waris Haubagya program is a good initiative for the water management in the country. It is also hoped to solve the drinking water issues in the country. The water scarcity of the Vavuniya district will be solved with the North Canal project. He added that the water tank reservations will be separated accordingly. The Secretary of the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana, Sagara Karyavasam, says that the country will be developed without harming the hopes and trust of the people. He was addressing a media briefing held at the party headquarters today. Investments are essential for the development of a country. The development activities will be carried out according to the Vistas of Prosperity Policy Manifesto of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Paddy purchasing activities of the Maha season had commenced last week in the Galle district. It is expected to purchase 1.3 million kilograms of paddy from the district. The Paddy Marketing Board and the Agricultural Development Department implemented this paddy purchasing program. Next, we take a look at the main news stories.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddha Lepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddha Lepa, the Vedha Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddha Lepa Vedha Mahatmya.
Around 20,000 army personnel in the country have been vaccinated so far. Oxford AstraZeneca Covishield vaccine doses have been administered to 19,598 army personnel. Sri Lanka Army said 5,061 doses were administered today at 15 centres across the country. The Army commenced the vaccination drive on Friday at the Army Hospital in Narayanpeta. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health said 59,154 persons have received the Covishield vaccine doses in the country thus far. The ministry said no persons in Sri Lanka have thus far experienced any severe adverse reaction to the Oxford AstraZeneca Covishield vaccine. Acting Director of Health Services, Dr. Hemantha Herath, said, at present, healthcare workers and the frontline staff are being given the Covishield vaccine jabs. That was the main news story. Watchlight is up next.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddha Lepa Vedha Mahatmya. Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddha Lepa.
Watchlight. Environment Minister Mahinda Amaravira said that traders will be given a grace period to clear the remaining stocks of items made of polythene and plastic, the use of which will be prohibited from the 31st of March this year. According to a Gazette Extraordinary issued by the Ministry On the January the 31st, the use of several polythene and plastic packaging materials has been banned from use for any process, trade or industry after March the 31st this year. The minister said that following the grace period to be declared, the Consumer Affairs Authority will conduct raids into the violation of these regulations. That was Watchlight, a bulletin of world news will follow.
World News, brought to you by courtesy of
From the first step you take till the time we meet, the trusted leader prioritizes you always. All you need under one roof. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
World News headlines. UN chief strongly condemns detention of political leaders, transfer powers to military in Myanmar. AstraZeneca to supply 9 million more vaccine doses. Poland finds first case of COVID-19 in Minsk. The top United Nations leadership has strongly condemned the detention of Myanmar's state councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, President Wu Win Mint, and other political leaders as UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres voiced concern over transfer of powers to the military, calling it a serious blow to democratic reforms in the country. The Secretary-General strongly condemned the detention of State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, President Wu Win Mint, and other political leaders on the eve of the opening session of Myanmar's new parliament. A statement issued by Stephanie Durajek, spokesperson of the Secretary-General, said on Sunday. Pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca has agreed to supply 9 million additional doses of its coronavirus vaccine to the European Union during the first quarter, the bloc's executive arm said. The new target of 40 million doses by the end of March is still only half what the British-Swedish company had originally aimed for, triggering a spat between AstraZeneca and the EU last week. European Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen said, after a call with 7 vaccine markers on Sunday, that AstraZeneca will also begin deliveries 1 week sooner than scheduled and expand its manufacturing capacity in Europe. Poland has found its first case of COVID-19 in Minsk, the Agriculture Ministry said, raising fears of costly culls in an industry that counts over 350 farms in the country. With new variants of the coronavirus threatening global efforts to get the pandemic under control, authorities in several countries have begun mass culls of the animals due to fears of a mutated strain of the illness being transmitted to humans. The ministry said in a statement it had been informed by veterinary inspectors of a case in Kautsy country in northern Poland. To end this bulletin of world news, we take a look at the headlines again. UN chief strongly condemns detention of political leaders, transfer of powers to military by Myanmar. AstraZeneca to supply 9 million more vaccine doses. Poland finds first case of COVID-19 in Minsk. That ends this bulletin of world news. Development news is up next.
World News, brought to you by courtesy of
From the first step you take till the time we meet, the trusted leader prioritizes you always. All you need under one roof. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Development news. Air Force Commander Air Marshal Sudarshana Patirana undertook the village renovations project in line with the 70th anniversary of the Air Force under the Gamasamaga Pilisandara program conducted by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa in Kabedigollava, Anuradhapura. The chief incumbent of the Kanugahawava Abhinava Rama Viharaya, Grama Niladari officer and residents of the area discussed their needs with the divisional secretary and made a proposal on what was needed by the people. Based on the proposal by the Divisional Secretary, the Urban Development Authority has planned to develop Kanugahawewa as a model village, together with the Air Force. The project is conducted under the guidance of the Air Force Commander, who appointed a steering committee led by SLAF Director Ground Operations, Air Vice Marshal Camillus Lebroy. That was a look at development news. Sports news follows. Rugby chairman Lasantha Vijayasuriya says the Kandy Sports Club has decided not to participate in the upcoming inaugural Commanders Cup Rugby Sevens tournament, which is scheduled to commence at the end of this month. Kandy SC initially opted to participate in the tournament, which is organised by the Air Force Sports Club and conducted by the Sri Lanka Rugby Association. But due to uncertainty of dates and all their players being employed in the private sector, they finally decided to keep away after the special meeting called by their rugby committee recently. That was a look at sports news. Business news is up next.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Cinnamon Life announced another major milestone in its journey to completion with the securing of a certificate of conformity for the project's office and the suites residential towers. Notably, the pace and the progress of the Cinnamon Life project continue to gain momentum despite the challenges of the ongoing pandemic. Having now received full and final certification that both structures have been constructed in complete conformity with all applicable regulations and safety guidelines necessary for occupation, the John Keels Properties team is now actively preparing to hand over units at the suites and the offices at Cinnamon Life by March this year. That was business news. Economic news follows.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Contributory deposit of 1,000 rupees from NSB when your child enters grade 1. Open a Hapan Children's Service account for your kid today. Higher interest. Conditions apply.
Economic News, courtesy of
Congratulations on your promotion. When will be our treat, huh?
How about today?
Oh no, I was just joking.
It's fine. I have my LOLC credit card with me. Let's go out today.
Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
Sri Lanka Tourism has implemented several measures to ensure that the island getaway is as safe as possible for international guests. A medical insurance scheme is a key element of the many safety nets put in place. To provide this service, People's Insurance, a part of Sri Lanka's largest financial services groups, has entered into an agreement with Sri Lanka Tourism to be the exclusive insurance provider for all inboard tourists. Following the guidelines set by Sri Lanka Tourism, this mandatory insurance scheme is offered to international tourists applying for an online tourist visa, non-Sri Lankan passport holders, dual citizen passport holders, Sri Lanka citizens travelling with foreign or dual passport holders, as well as business visa holders. That was economic news. Finally, we take a look at the weather report.
Hello, Puta. Did you land already?
No, Amma. We're in transit and our flight got delayed.
Oh, really? How is Shani? Poor thing with her pregnancy. She might be feeling very uncomfortable. The airport must be heavily crowded because it's a season.
Amma, calm down. Everything is sorted. Why, I have my LOLC World Card with me. We are at the VIP lounge. There's nothing to worry.
Those who spread goodness radiate happiness to everyone around them. Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
Finally, a look at the weather report. The Met Department says several spells of showers will occur in the northern, north central, eastern and Uva provinces and in the Matale and Nuwara districts. Fairly heavy falls, about 50 millimeters, can be expected at some places in the Uva province and in Polonnaruwa, Matale and the Nuwara districts. Fairly strong gusty winds up to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected in the northern, north central and eastern provinces and on the eastern slopes of the central hills. Showers or thunderstorms will occur at several places in the western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Fairly heavy falls, about 75 millimeters, can be expected at some places. Misty conditions can be expected in the western, central, Sabaragamuwa and the southern provinces during the morning. That was the weather report. To end tonight's news broadcast, we take a look at the headlines again. Sri Lanka records a high COVID-19 recovery rate compared to other countries. Around 20,000 army personnel in the country have been vaccinated so far. The government expects to make Sri Lanka a naval hub by the year 2035. Sri Lanka to have first biogas power plant in October. A significant development has been recorded in the information and telecommunications sector in the country. The Education Ministry is working on the possibilities of reducing the cut-off marks of the Grade 5 scholarship examination. Aviation clubs will be set up in every school in the country. In foreign news, UN chief strongly condemns detention of political leaders, transfer powers to military in Myanmar. That ends tonight's news broadcast, and all set and ready to take over with a broad smile on her face is our mutual friend, Chandima, and she will host Family Choice and will be with you until close of transmission at 10. Chandima, all yours.